who am I to say, no, you can't do that? Like, it's not my fucking body. It's not, you know what I mean? Like, what was the borough like? I think being from the borough is like the ultimate underdog, like, story. I think even next door to us, Freehold Township, like, always viewed as like the underdog, or like maybe like lesser because you're not from Freehold Township. So that was kind of like motivation for me, and especially in athletics. Like, I wanted to show everybody that, you know, like, we had players in the borough, and we do. I think we have some of the best athletes that I've ever seen in high school, either when I played or before me, after me. I think Borough produces some of the best talent in the state. Like, I'm proud to be from Freehold Borough. Like, and even till this day, like, people still say, like, oh, like, you don't want to go down, like, Center Street or some shit. And I'm like, I go down Center Street every day. Like, it's my town. Like, I know everybody. I love my town. Like, so I feel like a lot of other people would have a similar feeling, that I like being an underdog and using that as motivation to work and just kind of like change people's perception. Like, you know, it's like crosstown rival. Like, they always thought they were just gonna come. I mean, all my stuff is mostly speaking from.
You played basketball in middle school?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, who was on that team?
It was me, Dan Smith, Paul Brown. You remember Paul Brown, right? He was there for like a year. Anthony Lamborghini was on that team. Jaquan, he was on Mir, Buddha, Chum. I probably honestly never should have stopped playing baseball.
Yeah, I could have seen you doing well.
It was probably my best sport.
You think so?
Probably.
Come on, football and basketball. I feel like you.
Basketball was probably my worst sport.
Really? Huh.
I was never really natural. Like, I was never a great shooter. Like, I was a good shooter, like, 7th, 8th grade in, like, freshman year of high school. And then I started working out a lot, like lifting, and I screwed up my shot. But it's funny because all of our friends, like, you know, we play basketball at Open Tut, whatever. Like, Curcio, Kuna, Berger, like, all those guys. And it's always, like, everyone always, like, gives me, like, an open jumper. And I'm like, I'm trying to tell you guys, I used to be a sharpshooter back in the day. And I was hanging out with Mr. Smith, Coach Smith. We were getting, over the summer, we went to Tommy's and got some beers. And he was like, can you still shoot, like, lights out? And I was like, no, it's like this funny, like, I wish you could say it to my friends because no one believes me. He was like, I remember in, like, 8th grade, like, you were like a really good shooter for your age. Like, people, like, your, like, 13-year-old kids could not shoot, like, how I used to shoot. I think for me, the biggest thing is with football, I think football most strongly represents, like, the values of real life in terms of, like, discipline, sacrifice, like, just making you a tough person overall. Just, like, literally running into other full-grown men and trying to, like injure them. Like, you're not trying to, like, obviously injure them, but, like, you're trying to hit them. Like, you want to run through them. Like, doing that and knowing that, like, the person next to you, behind you, whatever, has your back, like, it's a very, I think football is a very emotional game. Like, that's what I mean, like, by that. I've shed tears while I've been playing, like, in the middle of plays. Like, it's overcome with emotion. In football, you get fucked up. Like, in life, you get fucked up. Like, scoring touchdown, I remember scoring my first touchdown in football as clear as yesterday. And, like,
Pop Warner or Red?
Pop Warner. Like, I will never, there's no feeling on planet Earth better than scoring a touchdown in football, in my opinion. Like, it's just something, like, indescribable. Like, I remember I was in 4th grade. We were playing Toms River, but we were on Jackson Memorial's field. It was pouring rain. I remember my mom and Ryan Kudish were up in the stands, and I was playing running back, and I got I think it was a toss to the left. And I just remember like catching the toss and just like getting the edge and just taking off for like maybe like a 40, 50 yard touchdown. And I was like, holy shit, like this is awesome. And like ever since then, I just love football. I never felt like rushed or like frantic. Like everything was just kind of like slow motion, like in front of me. And I felt like I knew just naturally like what to do or where to go. When I got to college, it was definitely not as like slow motion. I would definitely say that was when I was like, oh man, like maybe I'm not as great as an athlete as I thought. Yeah, like athletics was always just a big. It's not like my parents ever like forced me to play. I think my brother just played, and you know, obviously, if you have an older brother, like you just want to be like them, do everything that they do. So, my brother was like, well, because my dad was a soccer star, so we played soccer, and then my brother in like 7th grade was like, I want to play football, so they let him play, and then I was in 4th grade, so I was like, well, Ian's playing, so like, I want to play, so. This interview is brought to you by Bud Light. Drink responsibly. Just like I would say the number one thing is like 100% comfortability and trust. I think that's when you know like you really love someone romantically is like, for example, in a relationship, like I highly value the ability to like be hanging out or, you know, in a room together and be able to like not find it awkward with having it silent. Typically it's probably more of a physical, and I don't even mean like sex. I mean like physical is like, I like to like kind of like just feel like have my arm around Emily and like stuff like that, or just like, you know, cuddle up to her. And like, or like, so like touch, I guess, and then also me doing things for Emily, like maybe like cooking or like planning like something fun to do, or just like surprising her with like ice cream or like a snack that she likes, is like a way that I express love. I feel like with females, it's like, especially for Emily, I know for Emily, it's like more of kind of like a verbal. Like she wants to hear me like kind of say like words of affection or things of affection, which is fine. Like for me, like I don't mind doing that. Obviously, am I thinking?
And then tell us how that happened. You willing to do that? Yeah, right up to the camera. Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
That shit hurt.
What happened?
I was mad. I have a wooden door, like a hard wooden door to my side door actually. And I walked in and I was mad and I just went, I punched it really hard.
You think it was curled under the other fingers?
I'm assuming, I don't know how it happened, but my knuckle actually is still kind of messed up too.
Oh.
If you look.
Yeah, it's a little in.
Yeah, but it's whatever.
What'd you get mad at?
What I get mad at? It was something stupid. Me and Emily were like drinking all day. And I was just like, kind of got into like an argument, and like so I walked her outside and like she left, and I was just pissed off about how like the interaction went down. So I was just mad. I hate stupid people. Stupid person could be white, black, Hispanic, Asian, whatever. And I hate rude people. Rude person could be any skin color, whatever, it doesn't matter. For me, I don't judge a person off their skin. Like, I feel like you'd be foolish to do that. You judge a person off like their character. If you look at our graduating class from 8th grade, which is relatively the same in FLC, and then obviously we just added Park Ave. I would say maybe we graduated with like 120 to 140 people in 8th grade, right? I would say there was probably like 40 white kids, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, and then you made the point that of those 40 white people, most of them were in what was considered to be gifted and talented.
Yeah.
Dude, I never thought about that. And that's the thing. And that's the thing. That's why it's so hard for a white person to identify and even come to grips with the reality of like racism and systemic racism in America, because like you said, no matter how hard you try to like emphasize and identify with that, you don't feel it. And it's something that I talk about with people a lot, like whether you want to believe it or not, feel it or not. Like you said, you didn't even think about it till you're 21. There's probably people on the other side of that recognize that in like 6th grade when they're like 12 or 13 years old. You know what I mean? So it's more real when you're on the other end. Civil rights movement was 60 years ago, like, and that's not even that long ago. Like, there's people in power now that were in close to being in power back then. Yeah, so with that subject, I think, I'm trying to think. In America, I do think maybe this might even have to tie somehow back in with like racism. I would say that judging someone based on their economic class is a real thing too. And the majority of America is probably lower middle class to poverty. I think I read this article the other day. You can't afford month's rent or yearly rent on a minimum wage salary in any of the like biggest cities in America.
Yeah.
Something like that.
That makes sense.
Which is absolutely absurd, because like, what the fuck is the point of a minimum wage job then if you can't even sustain yourself off of it? Like, so I definitely think something needs to be done about that, but I'm not a huge fan of socialism. I think capitalism is a good thing. I do think, like, I'm a pretty big proponent of like, you should keep what you get, like you earn. You should, what you work for is what you keep. But like, that goes back to what I said before. Does everyone have the same opportunities? Probably not. So I am on the fence when it comes to that. Like, I'm a big proponent of like the self-made man. Like, that's kind of how I view myself. Like, I was an athlete, but I worked really hard. Like, when I got to college, man, like, I worked my ass off to play, like, so hard. I did everything in my ability to do the right things on the field, off the field, in the weight room, eating right. Like, I wanted to play, so I worked. So obviously that's different with like the working world and like kind of moving up the economic ladder. But I do think that if you do the right things, you show up on time, you give maximum effort no matter what, you don't complain, I feel like you will have the opportunity to move up. And that's why I kind of like capitalism, because I think if you take away that aspect of like the competition and like that ability to, you do well, you go up, you suck at your job, you get fired, you know what I mean? Like, and it's sad. It is sad. Like, people, like, there are people that just are stuck in poverty. Like, it's sad. And like, the sad fact about life is it's not going to be rainbows and butterflies for everybody. Like, everyone, like, I wish it could be, but that's, it's life, man. Like, we live in a world of limited resources with an unlimited population. So sometimes there has to be like people that, don't really make it, but I don't think that there are, if there was the perfect opportunity, everyone started the same level, that'd be awesome. And I wish like somehow America could figure a way out for that to happen and to keep capitalism. I think that'd be great. I think everyone would be a lot happier, Because I do think that, say everyone was happy, everyone was making a livable wage, but you couldn't go up, you couldn't go down. Like, what are you doing? You could be like, all right, well, I'm going to work for 8 hours today. I'm getting paid, X amount of money, whether I do 2 hours of work or 8, so I might as well just do 2. You know what I'm saying? Where in capitalism, you could be like, all right, well, I have a 9 to 5 day, but I'm going to stay till 9 o'clock and work 12 hours every single day because I know that I'll go, like, you're not seeing that in socialistic societies. I mean, I don't know, maybe you are, but that's just my assumption. I've definitely gotten more libertarian or liberal, whatever you want to call it, over the past probably 2-3 years. I don't know. Maybe I just kind of took a deeper look into things and myself, and realized that I was going to stop being ignorant or stop being like, oh, America, best country, So I think that was probably the biggest difference. But that's a good point. Like, are people truly happy in capitalism? I mean, I don't know. Like, because there are a lot of people that are just depressed, anxious, bipolar for like no reason. They could be wealthy as hell or they could be poor as hell. It's not limited. And that goes back to the, age-old adage, money doesn't buy happiness. And I guess that's true. I mean, I think for me, personally, I'm a relatively positive, happy person. And I'm not, I'm lower middle class my whole life probably. I think I'm starting to hopefully change that for myself going forward. And I've always been like pretty fucking happy. I think if I had like a couple $100,000 in the bank, I think I'd only be more happy. And I think the thing that I would enjoy most about that is I always say, like, if I ever, won some crazy amount of money or just like blew up making a ton of money like in my career, I think the thing that would bring me the most happiness is being able to like do shit with all my friends or like do shit with people I love, and like them not being able to be like, oh, like, I can't afford it, and just being like, dude, I'm not asking for anything but your fucking time. Like, that's it. Like, you give me the time, we'll have fun. And I think that's something that maybe people that are super wealthy lack. Maybe it's because all they care about is money, or maybe they lost all their friends because all they did was work to get to that money, which is something that I'm trying to kind of find a balance in. I'm happy, bro, drinking 4 beers, smoking a little weed, hanging out with a couple of kids I've known since I was 6 years old. Like, that's happiness to me. Like, don't have to be doing much, sitting down. Like, I can ignore the fact that I might have $20 in my checking account, or like I could ignore the fact that I had 20 grand in my checking account. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like living in the moment and just being around people you enjoy, doing what you enjoy with them is like capitalism, socialism, doesn't matter. And I think that's where America is going wrong. Everyone's so polarized now. I didn't even know what Republican Democrat was, bro.
I was the same thing. I didn't
know. Like last year. My timeline of wanting to understand and being able to speak about it was sped up because of election year, pandemic, all sports were canceled. That's all there was to talk about. So I was like, all right, that's all everyone's talking about. I might as well figure out a little bit. So if a girl or if a female, and either on her own or with like her partner, whoever got in that situation, if they decide like they want an abortion, like who else's opinion should matter? Like, it shouldn't be a government decision. If like that's what they want to do, that's what they want to do. Like,
it is weird. Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. That's just how I think about it. Like, who am I to say, no, you can't do that? Like, it's not my fucking body. It's not, you know what I mean? Like, and to literally like freak out about that, or like for example, like with like gay marriage, or like maybe like transgender people, like I don't want a male and a female like making out in front of me. So I don't care if it's a male and a female, a male and a male, a female and a female. Like I don't want anyone in front of me, like say I'm on a subway, just like making out or whatever. So like I don't care. What you do in your bedroom, it's none of my business. I don't give a fuck. Like I'm still doing what I'm doing. It doesn't matter what you're doing. You know what I mean? Like, and people just get their panties up with a bunch about like all this shit. It's like, who cares? Even the way they talk is different. Like my one friend, like I noticed I started talking like him, and because he's like one of my good friends. Him and his family, like the way they ask like a question is like kind of, instead of saying like, oh, you're going there, they'll be like, oh, you're going there, like some weird, like I don't even know how to describe it, but like I've noticed like we would hang out with him and his family a lot because they only lived like 45 minutes away, and like some of my other friends that were from like Philly, you know, back here would start talking like that, and I'd be like, yo, like we're talking like, I don't want to say like Hicks, but
Oh, we're going. That's fun.
it's just different.